Hi, it's Friday. Finally, first day of spring. Although it doesn't look like it outside, it is the first day of spring and it's Friday and it's one crazy week over and we're about ready to go through 7 crazy weeks. But I thought what I would do today is just make a checklist for you. So this is just a checklist of things that probably need to get done, actually do need to get done this weekend to start moving towards e-learning. The first thing that I would say is it's time to check in with students if you've not already. They're starting to panic just like we're starting to panic. So if it's at all possible, you can send them an announcement through Blackboard and check that to go to the students immediately, and it will email a copy of that announcement. You can email your students through Colleague, through WebAdvisor. If you go to the roster, you can check. The one caveat with doing it that way is that you cannot add an attachment to an email through WebAdvisor. So there is that, but you most certainly point them to the direction that you're going. And then just good old-fashioned email. You can email your students. You have the email on the WebAdvisor rosters, and if you want to do that, you can do that. Whatever way you do it, you just need to make sure that there's something available for students in their IVCC student email account so that we can start moving on Monday. I've been getting calls from the student help desk. They're worried. Please know you don't have to have your class built, any of it built, or all of it built, or whatever you're doing for e-learning, but you have to communicate. They need to know what's going on. So that's the first thing that I would make sure that you accomplish, and I would accomplish that definitely by the end of the day today. If you have already communicated with students, it might not be a bad idea over the weekend sometime just to do another follow-up. You know how things get in an email, they get buried below things, below 12 rave alerts or whatever we have going on now. So go ahead and resend some information maybe towards the end, today or towards the end of the weekend, so that it's kind of up fresh in the top of their inbox when they go and look for it. The next thing I think that needs to be done before Monday is that you have 1 week of information ready for students. Now, however you communicate with that, if you're going to email that 1 week of information to them, or if you're going to put that up in Blackboard, you need to have 1 week's information. Now, we're probably, the way that things all went down, we're probably going to, some of us, be 1 week ahead of students, and that's okay. But the farther you can get out, the better, because this week you've had to build, and then next week you have to build, communicate with students, and start grading. So the tasks just sort of keep piling on each other. So the more that you can get out there, the better. But at the minimum, get 1 week, and then realize that you can keep building on the next weeks. If you are using Blackboard, one of the things that you can do is you can use either the adaptive release to release information to students at the end. You can set the time parameters for when that's going to be available, or you can simply make them unavailable and flip them on when you're ready. You can do that at different levels in Blackboard. You can do that at the content area level, so that set of buttons that's along the side. If you hover over on the right-hand side of that button, you'll get a down arrow. That one of the down arrows is hide from students. And I would recommend doing that for any content areas you don't want available to students yet. It may be that you don't want any of those available until Monday, and that's okay. Make sure that you have those not available to students. It might be that you want one, might be developing weeks in that order, and then you want to have the week 1, COVID-19 week 1 or something like that, or after spring break week 1. So take that 1 week and make it available and not the other ones. It may be that you're doing it a little bit differently, and that you're doing it within a content area. You have several lists of contents, either folders or loose materials. I would strongly recommend a folder for that information. Put week 1, if you're doing it that way, week 1 or whatever, however you're labeling it, and have all that information in there. And then, you can be building week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way to 7. But I would have those not available to students until it's time to come up. release them a little bit at a time instead of everything at once. So that's one thing you want to do. And then I would make sure you take a second look before Monday at accessibility. Make sure that, you know, your PowerPoints are contrasted enough for students to be able to see, even if they have color blindness issues. You know, there's a lot of things that we need to talk about with accessibility, but that's one of them, just to make sure that you have another one to make sure that you have is if you're putting your things on YouTube, that you turn the automatic captioning on, and then take a look at Mary's tutorial also later, and go back and clean up those captions. But at the very least, get some of them up, and then go back and maybe clean them up. And we'll talk about that maybe in another video. But just take a quick look for accessibility, making sure that things are accessible to your students. I would search your email and see if you've gotten anything from Tina. She's been communicating with instructors specifically about student needs that she's aware of. The very last thing, and this may be one of the most important things, is make sure that you communicate the resources that Heather and the Student Help Desk staff have been creating for students. There's a banner at the top of the webpage now, and you can get to those student resources from there. You can get to the Student Help Desk. Please, please, please let students know that even though they're not coming to campus, that those resources are still available, and the Student Help Desk staff is working very hard to make sure that they can help support your students in this time. So direct them there when there's needs. Let us know if there's an overarching need. The Student Help Desk and Mary and I are in communication all the time. And if there's issues that they are seeing on a consistent basis, we may be reaching out to some of you and saying, this is what we're seeing for issues. And those might come as a communication to all faculty. Those might come as communication just with Mary and I on particular issues as we work through them. If you're having students with particular issues when it comes time to Monday, then let us know. We want to help you with that. Speaking of availability, the Student Help Desk will maintain hours next week, even though the campus is closed. Heather and Ellen, who is in a different position in our department for supporting us, but she's going to be the backup for Heather at the Student Help Desk. So the two of them will be working directly with students to try and resolve their issues, and they will be keeping hours. You can check their hours on either of the COVOID sites. We've got those up. Mary and I are here to help you, and we are here. We've decided that we're going to tag team the weekend. So Saturdays, direct all email to me, and I will try and help put out any fires or help you with anything you need on Sundays. I mean on Saturdays, and on Sundays, Mary is going to take over with those duties, so that we both kind of have a day off. I think you're going to find us a lot easier to deal with if we have a little bit of time off here on the weekend. But definitely Monday, Saturday is me and Sunday is Mary. If there's an emergency, contact Patrice and she'll look at both of us too. So we'll try and work through those situations we can. Next week, Mary and I will be on campus. We're planning on Monday hours from 9:30 until 7 to be able to get the wide spectrum of people, even make sure that we're available to the adjuncts also. So if you have, if you're a program coordinator and have adjuncts working for you, if you know adjuncts that are worried about things, please send them our way. We want to help them get the resources that they need to. So happy Friday. We've got seven weeks to go on this experiment of getting moving all this information for students online. So we're all in it together. Take care of yourself. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Monday.